The show, Mr. Dan Geltrude, America's accountant. Dan, thanks for coming on. This had to be your story. The CEO of McDonald's, Chris Kempczynski, I think is his name, saying that what we all pretty much kind of knew anyway, we're in a bifurcated economy. What say you?
Well, as you said, it's hard to disagree with that, Scott. And if we're looking at McDonald's as an example of what's going on here, as of today, Monday, September 9th, McDonald's is now offering some extra value meals. What does that mean? You have an $8 Big Mac meal going out there, which these extra value meals are equating to a 15% savings. Now, why are they doing this? They're doing it because traffic is slipping at McDonald's among the working class. So McDonald's is offering these extra value meals now as a direct appeal to these budget-conscious families. Now, what's interesting here is this squeeze that we see going on. The franchisees actually went to corporate and said, hey, you got to help us out here. So you actually have McDonald's corporate that is subsidizing franchises to make up for this difference with these extra value meals in order to get more foot traffic into McDonald's restaurants. Now, that's saying a lot, Scott.
Well, it used to be back in the old days when you and I were younger, much younger, that these restaurants, McDonald's fast food restaurants, would thrive when things got difficult, right? Because it was a cheaper meal. But as it happens, I mean, I've seen a lot of research, Dan, that said that a lot of these menus, these fast food menus, are just as expensive as some sit-down restaurants. What say you?
Well, yeah, that's absolutely true. Again, if we look at McDonald's as the example, how about this? Over the last 5 years, McDonald's prices are up 40%. I mean, that's significant. I mean, wow. Cheap eats aren't cheap anymore, Scott. I mean, that's just the truth of it. And what it also shows here is that margins are very, very tight in a lot of industries, and that includes fast food chains and fast food in general. Now, if you go back to a topic you and I have discussed a number of times, which is minimum wage and that raise in minimum wage, we knew what was going to happen because it was the fast food workers who started with the $15 an hour minimum, right, and then to $20 minimum wage. Well, what happened? That got all passed through. Then the fast food restaurants, what did they do? They moved to AI and they started shedding employees in order to keep those profits in what is really tight margins.
So I'm going to go back to what he says about a bifurcated economy. He's absolutely right. And it really comes down to this. I'm going to call it the upper 10%. I don't even think it's 20%, but the upper 10%, when we have these times of strife like we've had over the pandemic and the government pumps so much money into the system, you get these spikes in inflation or spikes in prices because of all the money that's been dumped in. And what that does is it shoots asset prices up, of which stocks are an asset price. So are homes, that's an asset price, land. And those things begin to really appreciate in value. And that benefits the people that already have them, the upper 10%. The bottom 80 to 90% of our economy, a lot of it middle income, they don't have a big land portfolio, a big real estate portfolio, let alone a big stock market portfolio. And so these poor folks just don't benefit from these inflationary times. And so that's another big problem. And he's exactly right. They are only feeling poor. Now, it's only been just lately when their wages have started to outperform the inflation rate. But for 4 years there, they were getting eaten alive.
Right. And Scott, remember one thing about inflation. You are not going to have deflation, meaning prices are not going to go back to where they were. All you have is that inflation is growing at a slower pace than it used to. So the question is the working class never had a chance to actually catch up. And it obviously, okay, did you get what I did there? Catch up? They never had a chance to catch up here. So it is a real challenge for most of the people in this country.
Right, and again, let's do the glossary for the folks at home. There's inflation, And there's inflation. When inflation's coming down, they don't call that deflation. Deflation is when you actually see prices go down. When inflation's coming down, it means prices are rising at a slower pace. So you'll hear the smart folks out there on the weekend news shows call it disinflation. So disinflation is inflation coming down, but it's still not a negative, and we're not seeing prices go lower. But that's the thing. You know, as much as Donald Trump wants to say he's for the working man and all that, the man on Main Street and anybody in middle America, they have not gotten any relief yet to any of these prices. Inflation is still at 2.7, 3%. That means it's 3% more expensive today than it was this time last year. There hasn't been any deflation, and God forbid the Fed would never let that happen. But a majority of America, I'm going to say 80 to 90%, has seen no real break going forward.
Well, there's 2 points here. First, we have to wait for Trump's policies to play through, right? Because it really does take time to see how this is going to play out for the overall economy. But on the other hand, Scott, Donald Trump has been pressing, and I'm not saying he's wrong, for the Fed to lower interest rates. Now, let's think about this. If the Fed lowers interest rates, which obviously is something that he wants to do to get the economy going, what is that going to do? That's going to push the stock market higher in value, so those that are in the stock market will benefit. Those that just have their money in savings accounts, what's going to happen? The interest rates come down, they're going to be earning less on their money. So there's no easy answer here, Scott, because of playing with the interest rates isn't that magic pill that puts everybody into prosperity.
Right. And there's that one little thing that they have to balance in the middle of all that, and that's called inflation, right? Because we get those rates too low, we ignite that fire one more time. All right. Great to talk to you, Dan. I could do another hour with you on this one, but we thought it would perfectly set for you because it was the CEO of McDonald's that had to say this. But we appreciate you coming on. Dan Geltrude coming to us from Nutley, New Jersey. All right, let's take a